Hello students, welcome to the online lectures of Kids Planet High School. This lecture is for Standard 7, Subject Science, Chapter Nutrition in Living Organisms. Let us now begin. So as I said before, the name of the chapter is Nutrition in Living Organisms. यानी कि इस चैप्टर में हम पढ़ेंगे कि लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स जो लिविंग थिंग्स है उन्हें न्यूट्रिशन कहाँ से मिलता है. बट बिफोर दैट लेट अस स्टडी व्हाट इज न्यूट्रिशन. Nutrition is the process of ingesting and using food for energy in living organisms. Foodstuffs are the substances which are ingested, digested and assimilated to give energy, help in growth and building health of our body. न्यूट्रिशन जो है वो एक प्रोसेस है किस चीज़ का, फूडस्टफ्स को खाने का, उन्हें इंजेस्ट करने का, उन्हें डाइजेस्ट करने का, ताकि बॉडी को ग्रोथ के लिए ज़रूरी प्रोटीन्स मिल सके. Nutrients. There are different types of food constituents which are useful and necessary for the body are called nutrients. Nutrients are classified into two types, macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are nutrients which are required in large quantity. Example, carbohydrates, proteins and fats or lipids. Whereas micronutrients are required in very small quantity. Example, minerals and vitamins. What is the need for nutrition? Why do we need nutrition? Because it is necessary for the supply of energy, for growth and development, replacing the damaged cells and repairing worn out tissues, and also to fight diseases. So nutrition हमारे लिए ज़रूरी है क्योंकि उससे हमें एनर्जी मिलती है, ग्रोथ और डेवलपमेंट करने के लिए ताकत मिलती है. इसके अलावा जब शरीर पे कोई घाव लगता है या चोट लगती है तो उस जख्म को भरने के लिए एंड डिजीजेस से प्रिवेंट करने के लिए भी ये न्यूट्रिशन ही काम आता है. There are two modes of nutrition in living organisms. They are autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Now what is autotrophic nutrition? Some organisms like plants can prepare their own food for nourishment. This mode is called autotrophic nutrition. Plants जो कि अपना फूड अपने नरिशमेंट के लिए खुद ही बना सकते हैं. So that form of nutrition is called autotrophic nutrition. On the other hand, some organisms like animals depend on other plants or animals for their food. This is called heterotrophic nutrition. कुछ दूसरे ऐसे ऑर्गेनिजम्स होते हैं जो कि दूसरे प्लांट्स पे या दूसरे एनिमल्स पे डिपेंडेंट होते हैं अपने फूड के लिए, जस्ट लाइक टाइगर एंड लायन. So this form of nutrition is called as heterotrophic nutrition. Like I said, plants are the organisms that produce their own food. Plants do this with the help of photosynthesis, with the help of sunlight. Autotrophic plants. Those organisms that produce their own food are called autotrophic. Example, plants. Now what is photosynthesis? अब ये photosynthesis क्या होता है जिसकी हेल्प से plants अपना food तैयार करते हैं? Photosynthesis is the process performed by the plants with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll by using water and nutrients from the soil and carbon dioxide from the air, in which own food is synthesized. The chemical equation for photosynthesis is carbon dioxide plus water plus sunlight gives food, that is glucose plus oxygen. The chemical formula is 6CO2 plus 6H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6O2. So because of this formula या because of this photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide and leaves oxygen. The energy is transformed in the process of photosynthesis. Light energy of the sun is converted into chemical energy which is stored in the form of food. Root absorb water, minerals and salts from the soil. Stem transports this material up to the leaves. Carbon dioxide from the air is taken inside from the stomata of the leaves. In the leaves, there are chloroplasts which contain chlorophyll, which absorb sunlight and help in the conversion of carbon dioxide and water into food. In the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is given out. The green parts of the plants that have chlorophyll perform photosynthesis. So in short हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि plants एक process का use करते हैं photosynthesis, जिसकी help से वो लोग food produce करते हैं. Photosynthesis में ये होता है कि plants जो है वो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, वाटर और सनलाइट को यूज करके एक केमिकल रिएक्शन करते हैं उस रिएक्शन से प्लांट्स को मिलता है ग्लूकोज प्लस ऑक्सीजन। तो ग्लूकोज वो लोग स्टोर कर लेते हैं इन द स्टेम्स और लीव्स, और जो ऑक्सीजन होता है उसे रिलीज कर देते हैं, विच इज यूज्ड बाय ह्यूमंस एंड अदर एनिमल्स फॉर देयर रेस्पिरेशन। नाउ वी हैव स्टडीड how do plants produce food. Now let us see how do they transport them. So for transportation they have two things, that is xylem and phloem. What is the function of xylem? Xylem transport the minerals and water from the roots to all aerial parts of the plant. Xylem जो है वो minerals और water को plant के हर एक parts में पहुंचाता है. On the other hand जो phloem है वो प्रिपेयर्ड फूड, जैसे कि मैंने बताया प्लांट्स जो है वो अपना फूड ग्लूकोज के फॉर्म में बनाते हैं, तो उस प्रिपेयर्ड फूड को फ्लोएम लीव्स में और दूसरे पार्ट्स तक पहुंचाता है फॉर कंज्यूमिंग देम एंड फॉर द स्टोरेज ऑफ फूड. प्लांट्स डू नॉट हैव सेपरेट डाइजेस्टिव और एक्सक्रीटरी सिस्टम. Let us now learn about nitrogen fixation. Gaseous nitrogen is present in air, but plants cannot take up gaseous nitrogen. It is therefore converted into nitrogen compounds. This is known as nitrogen fixation. Plants उन्हें नाइट्रोजन की जरूरत होती है, बट वो लोग एयर में से डायरेक्टली नाइट्रोजन ऑब्जॉर्व नहीं कर सकते, जो कि गैस के फॉर्म में है, तो इसलिए वो लोग उसे कन्वर्ट करते हैं इन द फॉर्म ऑफ कंपाउंड. इस प्रोसेस को कहते हैं नाइट्रोजन फिक्सेशन. नाइट्रोजन फिक्सेशन जो है वो दो टाइप्स में होता है. फर्स्ट वन इज बायोलॉजिकल नाइट्रोजन फिक्सेशन एंड द सेकेंड वन इज एटमॉस्फेरिक नाइट्रोजन फिक्सेशन. Let us study about the biological fixation of nitrogen. When nitrogen fixation is done by microbes present in the soil, it is known as biological nitrogen fixation. There are two species of microbes performing nitrogen fixation, viz. Rhizobium and Acidobacter, whereas atmospheric nitrogen fixation is occurred because of lightning. Lightning at the times of rainy season causes chemical reaction between atmospheric nitrogen and oxygen. This forms nitric oxide, यानी कि NO. Nitric oxide again oxidizes to form nitrogen dioxide, which is NO2. Nitric acid is added to the soil along with the rainwater. Till now, we have discussed about autotrophic mode of nutrition. That is, how do plants prepare their food. But autotrophic plants के अलावा ऐसे और भी plants हैं जो अपना food खुद नहीं तैयार कर सकते. Let us now study how do they get their nutrients. So the first example is of symbiotic nutrition. Other than autotrophic nutrition, there are also several other types of nutrition. उसके बारे में हम पढ़ने वाले हैं. उनमें से पहला है symbiotic nutrition. When two or more than two different types of plants live together to fulfill their needs such as nutrition, protection, support, etc. with each other's help, then it is known as symbiotic nutrition. इसका मतलब जब दो या दो से ज्यादा प्लांट्स एक साथ रहते हैं फॉर देयर डिफरेंट नीड्स सच एज न्यूट्रिशन, खाने के लिए, प्रोटेक्शन के लिए, सपोर्ट के लिए, वो लोग मिलजुल के रहते हैं, साथ में रहते हैं, दैट टाइप ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन इज कॉल्ड symbiotic nutrition. For example, lichen. The next mode of nutrition is followed by heterotrophic plants. Now what are heterotrophic plants? Plants that do not contain chlorophyll are heterotrophic. They grow on or in the other plant body for obtaining food. They are insectivorous, saprophytic or parasitic. Example, Loranthus, Kescuta, etc. are parasitic plants thriving on the host plants. The next category of plant is of insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants feed upon insects to obtain nutrients. Such plants are generally in soil or water that is deficient in nitrogen compounds. Example, Drosera and pitcher plant. ये ऐसे प्लांट्स हैं जो इंसेक्ट्स पे डिपेंड करते हैं. ये लोग इंसेक्ट्स को खाते हैं अपने न्यूट्रिएंट्स को पाने के लिए, जिसका एग्जाम्पल है ड्रोसेरा और पिक्चर प्लांट. द लास्ट कैटेगरी फॉर न्यूट्रिशन इज saprophytic plants. Saprophytic plants obtain the food from dead and decaying bodies of other organisms. Some fungi spoil the food. Some are disease causing while some have medicinal properties. Useful fungi such as yeast and few mushrooms. In fermentation process and bread making, yeast is used. Some mushrooms are used as food because they are rich source of iron and vitamins. Let us now study about nutrition in animals. Three factors involved in nutrition in animals are need for nutrients, mode of ingestion, and its use in the body. Nutrients are obtained from food. All the life processes run efficiently due to nutrients. The circulating blood supplies the nutrients to all the parts of the body. For this purpose, the food is converted into soluble forms by an elaborate process. The form of nutrition observed in most of the living organisms is holozoic nutrition. In unicellular organisms like amoeba, euglena, paramecium, all the process of the nutrition occur in the same cell. Whereas in multicellular animals, they ingest the food through mouth. Insects like cockroach and grasshopper and nibbling insects jaw-like mouth parts. Butterflies have tube-like proboscis for sucking the food, whereas mosquitoes and bedbugs have a needle-like mouth part for piercing and a tube-like mouth part for sucking the blood and fluids. Animals are classified according to the types of food they eat. For the first one is herbivorous animals. Animals that feed on plant matter such as grass, fruits, seeds, etc. Example grazing animals, carnivorous and gramivorous like seed eaters and frugivores like fruit eaters. This type of animals are classified under herbivorous animal. The next one is carnivores. Animals that feed on other animals for their food. Carnivores depend on herbivores for their food and thus are indirectly dependent on plant matter for food. Example, animals feeding on herbivores like predators like lion and tiger. Animals that feed on insects like insectivores. And the third one is omnivorous. Animals feeding on both plants and animals. Example, monkey, chimpanzee, human, etc. are called as omnivores. And the last ones are scavengers. Scavengers are those who obtain their food from dead bodies of animals. Example, vulture, crow, hyena, etc. The next ones are decomposers. Some microbes decompose the dead and decaying organic matter and convert it back to inorganic compounds by decomposition process. Decomposers clean and conserve the environment while feeding. The next form of nutrition observed in living animals are saprozoic nutrition. In saprozoic nutrition, animals decompose the dead and decaying organic matter and utilize it as food. Example, the insects, unicellular animals, houseflies, ants, spiders, etc. Let us now study about the last type of nutrition, that is parasitic nutrition. Parasitic nutrition is seen in some animals. The dependent animal is said to be a parasite, while the animal from which a parasite obtains the food is called a host. Parasite does not survive without a host. Therefore, it will not kill the host as in case of prey and predator relationship. Parasites are mainly of two types. They are ectoparasites and endoparasites. Let us now study about ectoparasite. Ectoparasitic nutrition. In this type, the parasites are seen living on the body surface of the host and obtaining food by sucking the blood or body juices. Example, louse, bedbug, tick, etc. Whereas in endoparasitic nutrition, in this type the parasites live inside the body of a host. They consume the ready-made digested food from host. Example, tapeworm and roundworm.